Hello, English 46A students. So I'm here again. I just finished with Thomas Campion's poem, and I want to do another poem with you. And so this is from Sir Philip Sidney. Um, I mistakenly, in one of these earlier lectures, I mistakenly said that Sidney was famous for writing sonnets for his wife, which is counter the love tradition, the romance tradition, because the romance tradition, as in say Tristan and Isolde and King Mark, it's supposed to be for the unattainable, or at least the mistress figure. That was actually Spenser. Edmund Spenser wrote the poems celebrating his love for his wife. Um, Sidney is more in the tradition of the unrequited lover. The sometimes he's successful as the lover, but sometimes he's not. That sort of thing. Sidney died young at 32. He was highborn, wellborn, took his responsibilities, helping England seriously, but died young. I didn't used to think that was when I was an undergrad at 18. I thought 32 was a good shot. Little did I know. Okay, so the sonnets. We have this sonnet sequence that they were written, a whole string of them, and we have Astrophil and Stella, star lover and star in Latin. Astrophil, okay. Philadelphia is the city of brotherly love. Phil, love. Astrophil, star lover, and Stella, the star. Okay. This is on page 586, and I believe you should read that section in the Norton. I'm not going to repeat it, but I am going to go over the first stanza. Now, these are written by highly educated, like Campion. Sidney's highly educated, and he's using so the sonnet in different hands. Some of the writers who were more used to writing, say, popular ballads, or they were going to, say, present the poetry as sort of something you'd sell on the street, a street ballad, use simpler sentence structure, simpler vocabulary, etc. Campion in My Sweetest Lesbia, Sidney here in Astrophil and Stella, they're not doing that. Okay, they're using the fullness of their mind and thought and heart and however you want, whatever you want to say about that. Okay. So sometimes some of these will take a little bit of working through. Okay, so I want to take the first one, and it was considered as the opening step into this sequence of poems, excuse me. And so therefore it needs to take that seriously, or in this case, Sidney decides to. Okay, he's making a dramatic or rhetorical decision about how to start. And this first sonnet, number one, is about wanting to capture in words the effect of the lover and of his love to his lover. And he struggles and he struggles and he struggles. And essentially, it turns out that at the end, it's like, quit studying the books, quit looking to all of the sort of fancy guidelines for how to do a love poem. Don't look at tradition. Don't look at other people's poetry. Look inside your heart. And in the poem, who says that? My muse, which is probably not the spirit of inspiration. That's the lover, because she's the one who is inspiring this poem. And the very fact that she solves the problem and he's documenting the problem, because, documenting the struggle is one way of sort of expressing one's love. Look, I worked really hard on your behalf, even if it didn't come out very well. I spent time, I spent effort, I spent hours. Give me some credit. Okay. Some of you, thinking of a Valentine's Day or a special occasion, might relate to that. Okay. It's also the compliment, right? Calling her the muse. That's a Greek goddess of inspiration. There are 9 of them. Calling her the muse, right? A Greek goddess of inspiration. That's a compliment. And also, she solves his problem. Okay. Now that you have all of that, I'm going to read the poem and then we're going to break it down. All right. Number one. Loving in truth, and fain in verse my love to show, that the dear she might take some pleasure of my pain. Pleasure might cause her read, reading might make her know, knowledge might pity win, and pity grace obtain. I sought fit words to paint the blackest face of woe, studying inventions fine, her wits to entertain, oft turning others' leaves to see if thence would flow some fresh and fruitful showers upon my sunburned brain. But words came halting forth, wanting invention's stay. Invention, nature's child, fled step-dame study's blows, and others' feet still seem but strangers in my way. Thus great wood child to speak, and helpless in my throes, biting my truant pen, beating myself for spite. Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write. So this is one of those poems where the answer to the problem was there all the time. Okay. So let's go back to the beginning of this and walk through it. I would also say, if I look at the 14 lines, the first 8 lines set up and document the problem. We then have a shift, not a great shift, but a slight shift. He's prepared, 1 to 8. And then in line 9, okay, this is what he's presenting. And then the answer in the very last line. So there's sort of, there's structural aspects that I'm paying attention to because it'll help me with another poem at another time. Okay. Loving in truth. I truly loved. So that's the declaration here. This isn't like, do I love her? I want to go check her out. I want to have a date and see. No, I love her truly, and therefore I want to write a poem so she can feel how much pain I'm in if we don't get together. Okay? Loving in truth and fain, desirous in verse my love to show. I want to write her a poem because I'm in love with her. That the dear she, the wonderful beloved female, the dear she, might take some pleasure of my pain. You know, here I am, I'm trying to show you my love, and maybe she'll enjoy hearing about it, right? Get some points for that Valentine's Day thing. Okay, but the sentence isn't over yet. We then have some sort of logic or emotional math. Pleasure might cause her read. Pleasure might cause her to read. Reading might make her know. So you have pleasure, reading, knowledge. Knowledge might pity win, pity, and pity grace obtain. And pity will lead to obtaining grace, meaning her kiss, her love, her look of appreciation. Okay. So, this is sort of compressed, but I mean, come on. It's like, aha, if I make it fun to read, if I use some art and craft in this poetry, she'll want to read more. If she reads more, she'll understand, she'll have knowledge of my pain. The knowledge of my love and pain might win pity. We might say mercy. Again, we've talked, I think, earlier in the class about the difference between pity in this period and because in modern English, right, pity is kind of a hard word as opposed to mercy or empathy. Okay. And pity grace obtain. And pity obtained the grace of her kiss. Okay. Because I was trying to do that and that was what was going on in my head, what did I do? I sought fit words to paint the blackest face of woe. I'm so unhappy that you don't necessarily know I love you or don't love me back. I gotta I want to paint that. Okay, so it's a little exaggerated, the blackest face of woe, but I gotta get the right words. Fit words to paint. Studying inventions fine, studying fine inventions. Other people wrote great poems. What can I borrow? Her wits to entertain, because again, I want to entertain her wits. I want to make it pleasurable. Again, if it's pleasure, she'll read, she'll know, she'll feel pity, she'll grace me with her love. Okay. Um, Off turning others' leaves. This is what they meant by leaves. Looking in others' books. The leaves, the leaf. Each book, each page is a leaf. The leaves of a book. Okay. Turning others' leaves to see if thence would flow some fresh and fruitful showers upon my sunburned brain. Okay, I'm not sure what the sun is in this case, but like he's getting a headache doing all this. He's dried out and burnt and, you know, fresh and fruitful showers that would soothe, that would be a sort of a springtime image as opposed to the sunburned brain. Okay, so he's working hard. He's studying the masters. He's trying to find something that'll work. And so now he picks up his pen and but words came halting forth or limping forward. Wanting invention stay. And there's a note there for two. Ineffectual or at random. No, lacking the support of invention, his words moved haltingly. Um, okay, lacking, wanting, often at this period means lacking. If you say, I want a pie, it means I don't have a pie. I'd sure like a pie. Where for us, as I want a pie, that's a more positive and direct, I need a pie. Okay, okay. But words came halting forth, wanting invention, stay, support. Okay, now we're back in that sort of compressed logic, right? Because before we had the pleasure reading, etc. Now we have, but words came halting forth, lacking invention support. Invention, nature's child, fled stepdame studies blows. We'll come back to that. And others' feet, others' poetry, and the way the rhymes work, the rhythm works. And others' feet still continually seem but strangers in my way. Okay, we'll pause there. Invention is nature's child. Study is the stepmother, stepdame, who's beating the child. Okay, so the idea that invention is supposed to be more natural, you know, the actual child, as opposed to the evil stepmother here. Okay. And that's going to echo at the very last lines when it says, look in your heart. Okay. Thus great with child to speak. He's pregnant with meaning and urgency. Thus great, that's what great with child means. Thus great with child to speak and helpless in my throes. It's not working. Biting my truant pen. Okay. Truant means it's getting into trouble. It's not showing up for school on time. So the pen is truant. It's like it's not writing the words I want. Beating myself for spite, sort of like the way stepdame study is beating that child. Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write. Isn't this sweet? So, on the one hand, he's struggling, he's documenting, he's getting a poem out of it, right? Okay. Struggling. And also, she solves the problem. The idea that, you know, you're going to make it sound bookish. You should just go to and speak the truth of your feelings. Fool, said my muse to me, look in thy heart and write. Final point. This is sonnet number 1 of a sequence. And this is promising, starting with stanza number 2. He's not imitating others. He's not working too hard with stepdame study. It's all coming from the heart. Okay, so this is a sneaky way to start saying that, you know, I'm going to be sincere. Because, you know, sincerity is a tricky thing when you're using a highly ornate form. And especially probably for a lot of us, where we've been given this notion that, you know, if you've got a bunch of rhymes and you've got a special, you know, the length of the line is only so long and it's got to have a pattern, how could that be sincere? Because wouldn't sincerity just want to use the words it wants to use? Okay. So he's claiming, well, A, it's going to be sincere. 2, there's a high premium placed on craft, on art, what we might call artifice if we don't really like the fancy rhymes. I like rhyming a lot, just like I like alliteration, as you know. And So again, it's a musical world, it's a musical culture. But these poems are mini essays. Maybe that doesn't sound very romantic. It doesn't sound very fun at this point. But once I started thinking of a lot of these sonnets as less, the overflow of spontaneous emotion, but more as sort of essays in thought and feeling, where the audience, whether it's the beloved or the general audience that's reading, puts a premium on the ability to handle that 14 line form well. Okay? Things to think about as we go forward. I like Sidney's sonnets, and I actually think reading Spenser and Sidney, as well as the other short poems that we've read from this period, will help you with Shakespeare, the most famous sonnet writer in the English language. Okay. And people will imitate, and we will have many sonnet writers afterwards, whether it's Milton, Wordsworth, Keats, Shelley, Mary Shelley's husband, Percy, Seamus Heaney, for God's sake, as an Irish in the 20th century, and more and more. I just named the ones that can do the best job that I know. All right. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you again.